Since we were kids, we've been told to eat more fruit. It's nature's candy, full of vitamins, good for your heart, great for your skin, a sweet, guilt-free gift from the earth. But as we grow older, one quiet truth begins to surface. Not all fruits are good for you anymore, especially after 60. Your body changes with age. Your digestion slows. Your liver and kidneys don't work the way they used to. Your blood sugar becomes more sensitive. What once healed now may harm. That's what happened to Mr. Tam, a 68-year-old man I met last year. Every morning, he'd start the day with grapefruit, a banana, some dried cherries, and a small handful of raisins. He believed he was eating clean and healthy. But one day, he ended up in the hospital. His heart was skipping beats. His muscles felt weak. His blood pressure medication wasn't working. After several tests, the doctors realized it wasn't the medicine that failed. It was the fruit that quietly blocked his body from using the medicine at all. No one had told him. You see, at this stage of life, food still has the power to heal, but only if you choose wisely. The fruits you ate at 30 may not serve you the same way at 70. What worked then might overwhelm your body now. This video isn't about fear, it's about awareness. I want to show you 4 fruits that seniors should avoid. And 4 fruits you should absolutely keep in your weekly routine to stay sharp, strong, and steady. Because health after 60 doesn't begin with prescriptions. It begins with paying attention, especially to the little things you do every day. And yes, that includes the fruit you eat for breakfast. There's something that happens in the background of your body once you cross 60. You may not notice it right away, but it's there. Slowly, quietly, the way your body responds to food begins to shift. Maybe you felt it. The same meals that used to energize you now leave you feeling heavy. Your sleep isn't as deep. Your joints ache more often. You find yourself more sensitive to bloating, indigestion, or random waves of fatigue. It's not in your head. It's biology. After 60, your metabolism slows. Your digestive system becomes more delicate. Blood sugar levels swing more easily. And your liver and kidneys, those unsung heroes working behind the scenes, begin to process nutrients, drugs, and toxins more slowly than before. That means the foods you eat don't just affect you for a few hours. They stick with you. They build up. They either support your healing or quietly add to the burden. And fruit? While it's often seen as the safest choice on the plate, it can also be one of the most misunderstood. Because not all fruits are created equal. Some are high in natural sugar, which hits harder when your insulin response weakens. Some interfere with common medications, blood pressure pills, cholesterol drugs, anxiety meds. Others bring hidden acids that inflame your joints or upset your stomach. The hardest part is that these changes don't show up immediately. You might feel fine today, but over time, the small imbalances compound. That morning banana, that dried fruit snack, that glass of fresh grapefruit juice, day after day, they start shifting your chemistry. Until one day you wake up and wonder, why am I more tired than I used to be? Why do my joints feel stiffer? Why do my medications seem less effective? The answer might be on your plate. But here's the good news. Awareness is power. You're not helpless. You don't need to cut out fruit completely. You just need to know which ones are still working for you and which ones no longer are. That's what we're going to explore next. Let's start with a fruit that looks completely harmless, but can silently undo the very medicine that's keeping you alive. At first glance, grapefruit seems innocent, even healing, bright, fresh, beautifully bitter. It's been a breakfast staple for decades, praised for its vitamin C, its heart-friendly image, and its low-calorie count. But for many seniors, especially those taking daily medications, grapefruit isn't just a fruit. It's a risk hiding in plain sight. Let me explain. Inside grapefruit is a compound that blocks an important enzyme in your liver called CYP3A4. You don't need to remember the name, but you do need to understand its role. This enzyme is responsible for breaking down many common medications. Blood pressure pills, cholesterol meds, anti-anxiety drugs, even some heart medications. When grapefruit blocks this enzyme, your body can't break down those drugs properly. The medicine builds up. It stays in your bloodstream longer than it should. It becomes too strong, too concentrated, and instead of helping your body, it starts hurting it. Imagine a dam blocking a river. The water piles up. The pressure grows. Eventually, something gives. This is exactly what can happen in your body without warning. People who eat grapefruit in the morning and take their pills after breakfast often never connect the dots. They start experiencing side effects: muscle pain from statins, dangerous heart rhythm issues, dizziness, excessive bleeding, or overwhelming sedation that makes it hard to stay alert. And the scariest part? This can happen even with one serving a day, especially when repeated over time. One woman I spoke with had been taking the same medication for 5 years with no problems. Then she started eating grapefruit every morning for her skin. Within a few weeks, she felt off, tired, dizzy, weak. Her doctor discovered the drug levels in her body were double what they should have been, and it all traced back to grapefruit. This isn't fear-mongering. This is wisdom through experience. Grapefruit isn't bad, but for those over 60 who are taking prescription medications, and that's most people, it simply isn't worth the risk. There are safer fruits to enjoy, ones that don't interfere with your body's healing process, ones that won't turn your medicine into a hazard. The truth is, what looks healthy on the outside can still carry hidden consequences. And grapefruit is a perfect example. So if this cheerful pink fruit can be this disruptive, what other fruits might be doing damage under the radar? Let's take a closer look at the next one. It's small, sweet, and beloved by many. But for some seniors, it's also quietly stirring up pain and blood sugar problems they never expected. Cherries are charming, small, bright, sweet. They bring back memories of summer picnics, homemade pies, and sticky fingers from fresh bowls shared with grandkids. They feel innocent, harmless, even joyful. But for older adults, especially those living with diabetes, joint pain, or inflammation, cherries can quietly betray the body in ways we rarely see coming. Let's start with the sugar. 1 cup of sweet cherries contains nearly 20 grams of natural sugar. That may not sound like much, but it can hit hard for a senior body whose insulin response is already slowing down. What was once a gentle curve in blood sugar now becomes a spike, a rush, followed by a crash. And unlike younger bodies, which bounce back quickly, seniors feel that crash differently. It shows up as fatigue, foggy thinking, irritability, and in the long term, it adds pressure to organs already working overtime. But sugar isn't the only problem. Cherries are also naturally acidic. And while a little acidity is fine in moderation, it becomes a real issue when you're dealing with inflammation, arthritis, or sensitive joints. For some, it's a trigger. That evening bowl of cherries might taste wonderful going down, but the next morning, your knees ache, your fingers swell. The walk you used to enjoy now feels like dragging cement. Worse still, many people aren't just eating fresh cherries. They're consuming cherry juices, cherry syrups, dried cherries in trail mix or desserts. And in these concentrated forms, the sugar and acidity are amplified. What used to be one handful becomes a sugar bomb hiding behind a health halo. I once had a patient, a retired teacher, who swore by cherries to help her sleep. She'd eat them every night before bed. But she also lived with mild arthritis and borderline diabetes. Over time, she began waking up with swollen fingers and a foggy head. Her blood sugar numbers rose. Her joint stiffness worsened. She never suspected the fruit. After all, cherries are natural. But natural doesn't always mean harmless, especially when your body is no longer working the way it once did. This doesn't mean you must avoid cherries forever, but it does mean you must be aware. Portion size matters, frequency matters, and your body's unique needs matter most. Because in your 60s and beyond, even sweetness should be questioned, not out of fear, but out of respect for the body you've earned. Now, if something as lovely and nostalgic as cherries can stir up this much trouble, what happens when your potassium levels get pushed too high by a fruit that nearly everyone thinks is the safest option on the shelf? Let's talk about bananas. Bananas have always had a good reputation. They're easy to eat, packed with potassium, marketed as the perfect post-workout snack or remedy for leg cramps. They're soft, familiar, and often one of the first fruits we give to children, and one of the last we take away from older adults. But here's what most people don't realize. After the age of 60, your body's relationship with potassium begins to change, and what once supported your health might now quietly strain it. Let's break it down. Bananas are rich in potassium, which is essential for heart rhythm, muscle contractions, and nerve signals. That's the good news. The concern starts when your kidneys begin to slow down, which is common with age. Kidneys are responsible for filtering excess potassium from your bloodstream. But if they aren't working as efficiently as they used to, potassium builds up. And that buildup, it doesn't always come with a warning. Sometimes the first symptoms are subtle: a fluttering heart, muscle weakness, fatigue, a sense that something feels off. Other times, it escalates quickly into a dangerous condition called hyperkalemia, where too much potassium throws off your heart's electrical rhythm. In severe cases, it can lead to heart arrhythmias, fainting, or worse. The danger isn't in eating one banana, it's in the pattern. One banana every morning, a smoothie at lunch, a potassium supplement recommended years ago, still taken out of habit. All of it adds up. And the tricky part? Bananas feel so harmless, so comforting, that we rarely stop to question them. I remember a man in his 70s who came into my clinic complaining of constant fatigue and occasional dizziness. He was active, he ate clean, and he swore by his banana-a-day routine, saying it helped his blood pressure. But he was also on ACE inhibitors, a common blood pressure medication that already increases potassium levels. Once we ran his labs, the numbers were clear. His potassium was too high. His kidneys weren't filtering it out fast enough, and the very fruit he trusted to help him had become part of the problem. This isn't about demonizing bananas. They're still nutritious, but your body's needs aren't static. They evolve. And sometimes the danger isn't in what we fear, but in what we assume is safe. So if you're eating bananas daily, take a moment to check in. Are you on medications that affect potassium? Do you know how well your kidneys are functioning? Have you noticed any unusual fatigue or weakness? These aren't overreactions. They're signs of self-respect. Because at this stage in life, being mindful isn't restriction, it's wisdom. Now let's move to a fruit that's even sneakier. It doesn't look dangerous. It doesn't even taste fresh. But it sits quietly in snack packs, trail mixes, and breakfast bowls across the world, disguised as a healthy option. Let's talk about dried fruit. They're small, convenient, tidy little bites you can toss into oatmeal or keep in your bag for later. Raisins, dates, dried apricots, cranberries, dried fruit has quietly earned a place in many healthy diets. But for seniors, these sweet shriveled snacks can be far more harmful than they appear. Let's start with a simple truth. When fruit is dried, the water is removed, but the sugar stays. Not only that, it becomes concentrated. Think of it this way: one handful of raisins isn't just a snack. It's the equivalent of eating a whole bunch of grapes, without the hydration, without the volume, and without the natural breaks that fiber and fullness usually provide. That means the sugar hits your bloodstream faster and harder. And when you're over 60, that spike matters. Your blood sugar regulation isn't as flexible as it used to be. The insulin response slows. And even if you're not officially diabetic, your body may still struggle to handle sudden surges in glucose. What happens next? A brief boost in energy, followed by fatigue, brain fog, irritability, cravings, and in the long run, added stress on your pancreas, heart, and blood vessels. But the concern doesn't stop at sugar. Many commercially packaged dried fruits are coated in added sugar, or preserved with sulfites, a chemical that can trigger migraines, digestive upset, and asthma-like symptoms in sensitive individuals. Even the natural versions aren't without their issues. They're dense in calories and easy to overeat. You wouldn't sit down and eat 10 plums in one go. But a small bag of dried prunes? That's gone in minutes. One client of mine, a woman in her mid-60s, thought she was doing everything right. She swapped out candy for dried fruit, added it to salads, kept it in her car. But over time, her blood sugar crept up. Her digestion became unpredictable. And worst of all, she began gaining weight even though she hadn't changed her portions. The culprit? That healthy dried fruit habit she thought was helping her age gracefully. This isn't about guilt. It's about clarity. Dried fruit can still have a place in your diet, but only if you use it with awareness. Think of it as a garnish, not a snack, a sprinkle on yogurt, a few bites after dinner, not a handful between meals. Because for older adults, the line between nourishment and overload is thinner than it used to be. And when something looks healthy but behaves like candy, that's when your body pays the price silently over time. Now, if even dried fruit, a food offered in waiting rooms and heart-healthy cookbooks, can quietly disrupt your metabolism, what can you trust? Thankfully, nature also offers fruits that truly support your healing. They fight inflammation, protect your brain, regulate your heart, and they do it without hidden risks. Let's shift the focus from what to avoid to what you should eat regularly, starting with a tiny blue fruit that just might protect your memory in ways no pill can. They're small, quiet, humble, tucked into yogurt bowls, hidden in muffins, or scattered across breakfast plates. Blueberries don't shout for attention. But inside their deep blue skin lies one of the most powerful tools nature offers for protecting the aging brain. Let's talk about memory. As we age, we all experience a little forgetfulness. You walk into a room and can't remember why. A familiar name hovers just out of reach. Your thoughts feel slower, foggier. It's subtle at first, but for many, it becomes deeply frustrating and even frightening. This is where blueberries come in. These tiny berries are packed with anthocyanins, powerful antioxidants that give them their vibrant color. But their beauty isn't just skin deep. Anthocyanins have the rare ability to cross the blood-brain barrier, reaching the delicate tissues of your mind where they fight inflammation and oxidative stress, two of the biggest contributors to cognitive decline. Studies have shown that regular consumption of blueberries can slow memory loss, enhance decision-making, and even reduce the risk of Alzheimer's disease. And this isn't theory. It's being backed by real research in aging populations around the world. But let's move beyond the science for a moment. What do blueberries represent? They represent hope, not flashy, miracle cure hope, but quiet, consistent, nourishing hope, the kind that comes from choosing to care for your mind every single day. A half cup of blueberries added to your oatmeal or eaten by the handful can make a difference over time. It's not about perfection. It's about momentum. It's about saying, I still care about how I think, feel, and remember. One gentleman I worked with, a retired engineer, began eating blueberries every morning. He didn't expect much, but after a few months, he noticed something subtle. He was recalling phone numbers again, solving crossword puzzles faster, feeling a little more present. It wasn't magic, it was nourishment. And the best part? Blueberries are also low in sugar, making them safe for diabetics. They support heart health, regulate blood pressure, and help reduce belly fat. All from a fruit you can hold between your fingers. So while others chase exotic superfoods and expensive brain supplements, don't overlook the simple brilliance of this little berry. Because in a world full of noise, sometimes the quietest things protect us the most. Next, let's explore another everyday fruit, one that's been sitting in your fruit bowl all along. Crunchy, crisp, and surprisingly powerful for your heart and gut. Let's talk about apples. An apple a day keeps the doctor away. It's a phrase so familiar that we barely hear it anymore. But as with many old sayings, there's a quiet wisdom buried inside. Because for those of us moving through our 60s, 70s, and beyond, apples may be one of the simplest and most effective ways to protect the very organs that keep us alive. Let's start with your heart. As we age, our arteries naturally become stiffer. Cholesterol builds. Blood pressure rises, and without realizing it, the risk of heart attacks and strokes creeps in. But apples, especially when eaten with the skin, are rich in soluble fiber, specifically pectin, a natural compound that binds to cholesterol in your digestive system and helps flush it out before it reaches your bloodstream. That means every time you bite into a crisp apple, you're not just enjoying a snack. You're actively helping your heart stay cleaner, stronger, and more resilient. But the benefits don't stop there. Apples also help with blood sugar regulation, which is crucial for older adults. They release energy slowly, avoiding the spikes and crashes that come with processed snacks or sugary fruits. And because they're low in calories, but high in water and fiber, they support healthy weight and satiety without adding strain to your digestive system. Constipation, for instance, is a common frustration in later life. Apples, especially raw, whole ones, can gently help things move along thanks to both their fiber and hydration. And let's not forget their antioxidants. Flavonoids like quercetin found in apple skins have anti-inflammatory effects that support your immune system and may even reduce the risk of certain cancers and neurodegenerative conditions. But there's also an emotional layer to apples. They're familiar, comforting. They bring back memories of autumn orchards, school lunches, and homemade pies cooling by the window. They remind us that health doesn't have to come in a capsule or a complicated routine. Sometimes it comes in the form of something simple and crisp, something you've known your whole life, now offering a second chance at care. One woman I spoke with had been through heart surgery and a lifetime of yo-yo dieting. She decided to return to the basics. She began eating one apple every afternoon. Within a few months, her digestion improved. Her blood pressure stabilized, and perhaps most importantly, she felt empowered, not by doing something extreme, but by doing something consistent. That's what apples offer: reliable daily protection. Not flashy, not exotic, but deeply effective. So yes, an apple a day really can help keep the doctor away, especially when you realize that health is built on small choices, repeated often. Now, if apples take care of your heart and digestion, what about a fruit that strengthens your bones, brightens your skin, supports your brain, and still tastes like a treat? Let's turn to a creamy green fruit that's often misunderstood but incredibly powerful for aging bodies: the avocado. Avocados don't look like most fruits. They aren't juicy, they aren't sweet, they don't sparkle with color or burst in your mouth like berries or oranges. Instead, they're quiet, soft, creamy, subtle. And for the aging body, that subtlety can be life-changing, because while other fruits may offer sugar and fiber, avocados deliver something most seniors desperately need, but often don't get enough of: healthy fat. Let's start with what that means. Avocados are rich in monounsaturated fats, the kind that help lower bad cholesterol, reduce inflammation, and protect your heart without clogging your arteries. They nourish your brain, ease joint stiffness, and provide lasting energy without blood sugar spikes or crashes. This is especially important after 60, because as your body slows down, fat becomes more than just a source of calories. It becomes fuel for brain clarity, hormone balance, and even emotional stability. But the benefits go deeper. Avocados are one of the best natural sources of vitamin K, which plays a critical role in bone strength. You might not think about your bones until something breaks, but after a certain age, every fall becomes more dangerous. Vitamin K helps keep bones dense and less prone to fractures. They also contain folate, potassium, and lutein, nutrients that support blood pressure, eye health, and circulation. Lutein, in particular, helps protect your vision from age-related decline, including macular degeneration. And unlike many fruits that are too acidic or sugary for people with digestive or blood sugar issues, avocados are low in carbs and incredibly gentle on the gut. But perhaps one of the best things about avocados is how satisfying they feel. A few slices on whole grain toast, a spoonful blended into a smoothie, a side of guacamole next to grilled vegetables. They leave you nourished, not deprived. I once worked with a man in his early 70s who struggled with cholesterol and blood sugar. He'd tried cutting out fats entirely for years and felt hungry, foggy, and fatigued. Once he began including half an avocado a day in his meals, everything changed. His energy returned, his numbers improved, but most of all, he felt in control again. That's the real gift of avocado, not just the nutrients, but the sense that you can still eat richly and age with grace. Because too often, older adults are told what to avoid, what not to eat, what's off limits. Avocados are the opposite. They say, you can still enjoy food, you can still eat well, and you can still give your body what it truly needs, with flavor, fullness, and healing. So if you want a fruit that supports your heart, your bones, your brain, and your taste buds, avocados belong on your plate. And now, let's move to one final fruit. One that's been prized in tropical cultures for centuries. Not just for its flavor, but for what it does quietly and powerfully for your digestion and inflammation. Let's talk about papaya. In a world full of pills, powders, and quick fixes, there's something refreshing about papaya. It doesn't come in a bottle. It doesn't need a label. It just sits quietly on your plate, soft, golden, and surprisingly powerful. For older adults, papaya is more than a tropical treat. It's a natural healer, especially when digestion slows, joints ache, and inflammation lingers quietly in the background. Let's start with digestion. As we age, the digestive system loses some of its rhythm. Meals that used to settle easily now bring bloating, gas, or discomfort. Medications can further disrupt things, leaving you constipated or sluggish. Papaya contains papain, a natural enzyme that helps break down protein and ease digestion. It works like a gentle assistant for your gut, helping food move smoothly, reducing heaviness, and relieving that full feeling that hangs around long after the meal ends. It's no wonder many cultures around the world use papaya not just as food, but as medicine. But papaya isn't just a digestive fruit, it's also deeply anti inflammatory. Rich in vitamins C, A, and E, it helps the body fight off chronic inflammation, the slow burning fire that contributes to arthritis, heart disease, and even brain fog. For seniors living with joint stiffness, swelling, or immune imbalances, papaya offers a soothing touch from the inside out. No side effects, no prescriptions, just simple nourishment that works in harmony with your body. I remember a woman in her late 60s who came to me exhausted by her digestion. She tried everything: fiber supplements, herbal teas, over the counter aids. Nothing worked consistently until she added papaya to her morning routine. Just a few slices with breakfast. Within weeks, her bloating eased, her movements became regular, and most importantly, her anxiety around eating began to fade. And that's what papaya really offers: relief. Not just physically, but emotionally. It gives you back trust in your body, a sense that things are working again. Papaya is also kind to the skin. The antioxidants in it help protect against cellular damage and support healthy aging from the outside in. Your skin, like your joints, responds to what's happening inside. And papaya brings balance, moisture, and a kind of quiet glow that doesn't come from any cream. It's easy to enjoy. You don't need to cook it. You don't need a recipe. You just slice it open, scoop out the seeds, and eat. Add a dash of lime if you'd like. That's it. In a time of life when so much feels complicated, papaya reminds us that healing can still be simple. And now, as we close this journey through the fruits to avoid and the ones to embrace, the message becomes clear. Your health is still in your hands, one bite at a time. You don't need to overhaul your diet overnight. You don't need to fear every ingredient. You simply need to listen to your body, your experience, your wisdom. Avoid what no longer serves you. Embrace what strengthens you. Choose foods that love you back. Because whether you're 60, 70, 80, or beyond, you're not done living. You're just entering a new chapter, one where every meal is an opportunity to nourish, protect, and thrive. Here's to your health, your clarity, your energy, and your joy. And to the quiet power of fruit chosen wisely at just the right time in life.